first. Okay, let me start back the context of where this call came from. Okay, so months ago, I taught AMP, which is actually a workman's success training program. And as a result of that, it went really well. It was all about administrative mastery program. And a lot of that has to do with mastering the systems that we learn as realtors, as admins, as transaction coordinators, whatever that may be. And as a result of that going so well, Systems with Selena came about, where we had an open forum to discuss any of the systems that EXP is using, or just systems that people are using in general, and where people might find that they need help over time. I love systems. Everybody's been talking about it since I've been here. They're like, oh, Selena's here. She loves operationally excellent, systems. And that's what I'm known for, even as a master coach, just trying to make sure that we are as efficient as possible. So I do have some things I would love to discuss today, but I do always like to open it up as an open forum if somebody feels like there's something they're really struggling with as well. So did anybody bring something to the table today that they were like, I desperately need help? Feel free to raise your hand.
No,
No?
I think we were talking about all these follow-up campaigns, so I definitely want to dive into that and have my VA build some of that out that we were
Okay.
talking.
Yep, awesome. And I just wanted to give some kudos to Will Higgins over here, who introduced me to something a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, that absolutely opened my eyeballs up to something that was a new system and process and software that now, unfortunately, I'm down the rabbit hole on. Um, so sometimes that could happen. And now it's creating a ton of efficiencies in our business. And ironically, Will, you see Mo, who's on, who uses the same system as he introduced us as well. So now I'm down the rabbit hole with both of you.
I was talking to Mo about this, and he told me he had something else he completely built, and I kept talking about high level.
I got on the call with his, and he's using a white labeled version of Go High Level.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
was
Mo.
I was
Yeah.
talking to the guy, and I was like, "This looks very familiar."
Yeah.
It's the SaaS version.
Mhm.
So you're both using the same thing. So I was like, this is really getting around out there. How do I not know about this before now? So I am deeply embedded in my copious amounts of spare time of trying to get everything up the way that we would run our business. But I'm loving it. And it means I can get rid of a lot of the other stuff, systems that are doing that externally that I can now pull all in. So that's exciting. Okay. Well, what I was bringing to the table today, because this is something that it's actually interesting. I love coming to coach training, even though I've been here a bazillion times and done it. Sometimes when you hear things over and over again, right? Sometimes you hear it a different way when you hear it the next time. And today we had someone here from Sync. Anyone familiar with Sync, Commissions Inc? It's a CRM.
Mhm.
He's here speaking, and he brought up all of these statistics up on the screen, and I was like, oh, this is so in alignment with what I wanted to talk about today. And it was about the cost of a lead. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna sneeze. I'm sitting on the floor, it's probably not helping. But he was talking about the cost of a lead, and what they see as it comes into the system. They've had about 10 million leads come through their system with all of the different people that they have utilizing Sync. And it wasn't so much just the cost of the lead, but what he talked about after that was how long, on average, if you are actually working a lead the way that you're supposed to work it, does it take a lead to convert? Anybody want to take a guess? Like a lead that's coming in either Google AdWords, social media, or whatever it is. All right, so Debbie, what did you guess?
No, I was
90 days.
Okay,
mm-mm.
so we've got a 90 days. What'd you say, Will?
I would say 12 to 24 months.
Debbie, what did you
Oh,
say? Oh, in chat, hang on. 9 months. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, nobody else? Okay. So this was fascinating because this is very similar to what a lot of the coaches in the room answered. We had someone say 14 months, right? And everybody was like, yeah, 14 months, 14 months. Somebody said 2 years, 2 years, 6 months. If you aren't converting them in the first 6 months, chances are you lost them.
Mm.
That's what they have found. So once they come in, oh, and this was very interesting as well, guys. Google AdWords leads and social media leads are converting almost exactly the same. Almost exactly the same level of conversion. Google AdWords do seem to convert 10% faster.
Mm.
10% faster, but they are converting at almost exactly the same conversion ratio. So what I wanted to talk about today was what you're doing, what you're systematizing for lead follow-up, because as you know, most agents have this whole concept of low-hanging fruit only, right? We only take the one that seems like ready, willing, and able right this second, and then everything else falls by the wayside, right? And we don't systematize any of that because we let it come in, and then like they might get a couple of things and then we just drop them like they're hot. Not like they're hot buyers either. We just drop them like they're not worthy of our time. And when he put that up on the screen, I was like, how many of us have leads that have been in there for years? Right? And then we give them to agents and we say, hey, why don't you go in there and try to convert some of those? Right? With the expectation that we think it's going to close or something's going to come from it, but it's been certainly longer than 6 months. Anybody here feel like they're guilty of that? Maybe it's happened. We have 9,000 leads in our KV core. 9,000. Yeah. It's a lot, right? So does anybody here feel like they do their follow-up at like a crazy high level?
Mm-mm.
No, no. And yes, there's certainly AI. Sherry, I see what you put in here. You've got AI, where there are ways that you can do some of that. They did say today, and this is something we all do know, nothing takes away from the power of a voice. Okay, you can build as many bots as you want and follow-up activities coming in that's all built into some sort of follow-up. We love that about KV Core. We love that about Sync. We love that about Boomtown, right? Nothing takes away from the fact that you pick up the phone. So I came into town early on Monday because I met with our Zillow. I'm a Zillow Flex. The Rick Chiha sales team is part of Zillow Flex, right? So I met with our Zillow Flex coach and our expansion team that we're a part of on Tuesday. And same concept, right? We were talking through what's working, what's not working, and obviously Zillow tracks like 912 algorithms about what works and doesn't work. And it was the same concept of they know with 100% certainty that someone hearing your voice on the other side of a phone, or they are definitely seeing video pick back up again, that is so much more impactful than a drip campaign for a C or a B buyer. Now, does everyone know what I mean by a B or a C buyer?
Mhm.
It's okay if you don't, if somebody wants to raise their hand and they're like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so at Workman and many other coaching companies, we have A's, B's, and C's. And here, hang on, I'll actually share my screen because I did pull this up so I could show you guys, and I can absolutely show you where this is after the fact. It is so hard to screen share when you are operating off of one screen. I don't know how people do it. I'm always on 5 screens. So, okay, let's see. Can you see my screen, guys? Excellent. Okay, good. All right. So A, the way I like to think about it is appointment. A is appointment. They're either ready to sell or they're ready to buy. You are showing them homes, right? You are listing their house. A is appointment. That is your A buyer. 9 times out of 10, when I ask somebody how many leads they're working with, when you can tell me their names, it's because you're showing them already, right? If they're buyers, or you have a listing appointment with them. On average, that's about 5 people for any one person, right? Because you can remember their names because you're actually actively out with them. So that's an A. I have an appointment with them, I'm showing them, or I have an appointment to list their home, or I've already listed it, that sort of thing. That's an A. B is I'm not really ready to buy or sell for 30 to 90 days. And most of the time we try to keep this at 30 to 60 days these days, really. And those are that's like, I'm not quite ready. I need to talk to a lender. I need to get pre-approved. I need to get a couple of things. My lease is running out, whatever that is, right? That's a B buyer. And I'm going to tell you, you should have, if you're lead generating well, about 20 B buyers in your hopper at any one given time. 20. That's what you're aiming for. Because over time, while you're making your calls, you're converting your Bs into As. So if you have 30 to 90 days of them, you think about it from that perspective, you're trying to get 5 of them into your A at any one time, right? And it's going to tell you that you're calling them twice a month during the 1st and the 15th. Now, notice it doesn't say you're emailing them twice a month. It doesn't say you're texting them twice a month. It says you're calling them. You're actually having a real phone call. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going with your pre-approval? Hey, checking in. Hey, I found some houses. Are you ready to do your search? Whatever that looks like. C is I'm not ready to buy or sell for 90 plus days. These are those colder leads that come in via Facebook, right? Or a Google AdWords or whatever it is that you're running. I don't know where I'm looking yet. I just want to be set up on search criteria. My lease runs out in 6 months, but I'm really trying to get a feel for everything. And guys, you better not be showing houses at this point. We don't show houses in 90 days. That inventory will be gone. Like, it does not make any sense for you to utilize your time for someone who is 90 days out. What I want you to get into the habit of thinking of, though, your job as an agent is to turn a C into a B into an A. And that is how you're systematizing your leads as they're coming in. That's how your brain is starting to think. And we've even given you a calendar to do it here. You're calling them once during the week of the 8th. So when I used to do this for my team in New York, was I actually took the calendar for the whole year. I would just download one off of the internet, and I would take in Adobe PDF, I would highlight the weeks and color code them for the whole year so that they knew, hey, if it was in pink, that's a C lead week. If it's in green, it's a B lead week. And if it's in blue or whatever color it was, okay, then that's our top 50 in SOI, because we actually do say that we want you to call your SOI as well, your top 50 in SOI. And that's typically on the week of the 22nd. All right. So this is where you'll want you to start thinking about, how are you tracking this? How are you determining who's your A, who's your B, and who's your C? Now, there's a couple of ways you can take this one step further. I'll show you guys where you can find that later. In New York, we actually had this in our buyer packet. We actually had a form that we made our buyers read that made them self-identify if they were an A, a B, or a C. Now, it said if you're an A, that means if I show you houses today and you find one you're in love with, you're pre-qualified, you are ready to make an offer, and we are going to buy a house. It's not like I have to go and talk to a lender. I have to do all these things, or I don't know, I might need to list my house first, like whatever. Like, we made them understand that, and that meant you are our VIP client. We are in it. We're going to go buy a house today if that's what you want to go do. And you're able to do it. B said, you're not quite ready. But when you are ready, we're going to upgrade you to an A. If you call me, we're probably not going to go look at houses yet, because in all honesty, you're not ready, right? And that's fair, because when you become an A, don't you want me to drop everything to go show you houses? And you don't want me to answer the B calls or the C calls to go show houses. You're going to be my priority. So they actually really appreciated it. They were like, oh, this is like nice. I'm not quite a B yet. I'm not quite a B, I'm a C. But I love the fact that you're still going to pay attention to me, right? And we would say, we're going to call you every month on the 8th. And we're going to check in to see if you're ready to be a B yet. If you're not, that's totally okay. You let us know when you're ready, right? And you just systematized everything around it. They started to expect it, right? Now, how annoyed do people get when you call them regularly and you're like, you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? But if you tell them in advance, hey, I'm just going to call you once a month. It's totally fine if you're not ready yet. I'm just going to check in and see how things are going, right? Totally different. You're asking permission. You've told them in advance. They know when to expect the call. It's on. Yeah, exactly, Debbie. You've set the expectation. You've shown them what you're going to do. You've given them all of the understanding that you're not pressuring them. Now, but it's systematized. I will absolutely call. Now, for the love of all that's holy, guys, don't not call them that week. Okay. Debbie's hiding her face. And you have to come up with a system. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this, and I'm happy to share both. And I'm going to put them in the in our document library that we have for Empire Builders Pro. Let me go back to where it was. So when I taught Activate, some of you have taken that class with me, some of you have not. I gave access to the lead tracker. Now, this is very similar to what we teach at Workman. And for those of you not currently using a CRM, this is, and I hate using this term, but it's accurate. This is a dumbed down version of keeping track of your leads. Now, I do know some people who use a lead tracker and still use KV Core and Boomtown and Sync or whatever it is that they use. Okay, it's totally up to you on how you want to use it. Basically, for every lead that comes in, they are giving it a rating after they finish that phone call. They're putting in, if you have a team, you're putting in the agent name, what's the client, all of the information you have, what was the date the lead came in, when did you first contact them? This is important in case it came in the middle of the night, right? But you didn't call them till the next morning. Okay, when you promised to call them again, okay, this is good because you can sort all of these columns, right? So if you're like sitting down and you're like, oh, when am I supposed to call people again, right? Then you're sorting, you've got client type. This, I can't stress this enough because most of you don't track this, guys. Where did they come from? Half the time I ask people, hey, what's your biggest real estate source? Like, where does it come from? I don't know. Like everything you need to know. How did you hear about me? Where'd you get my name? Oh, I saw your sign. Oh, I saw you on Google. Oh, I saw you over here. This is really important over time. At the end of the year, I want you to know what was your best lead source? Where did it come from, right? For me, this is also really important. If you're not doing this, this is a motivator. I don't know if you're motivated by money. I am. I put whatever they told me the price point was that they were looking at. And then this calculates, I have it, it's currently in here at 3%, depending on your market. You can change this if it's 2.5. I get a little bit motivated when I see what my potential commission is. Like, guys, if that's a C lead and your potential commission is $76,000, you feel slightly more motivated to call them back. I don't know about you. I get that way. I saw that on Will's thing the other day that he sent me in Go High Level. He had what that lead was worth on there, and I was like, "Ooh, I like it." When you do that and you're feeling like you're having a down day, and you look at your spreadsheet and you think, "I don't feel like making my calls today." For me, I look at it and go, I think I could make it for $76,000 in income. I feel like I could make a few calls today. I could probably swing it, right? And then I like to give it a probability score. This is where you can absolutely put that you put it in your CRM. I like to give it a probability score, meaning, did I feel like I connected really well with them? Did they seem like maybe they were going to make a connection with me? And then over time, you can put in, did you win it? Did you lose it? These will all give you statistics over time. So this is one really good way. All of these are sortable. All these little triangles that you see at the top up here, that's what that means. You can sort it by like, when's my next scheduled touch or whatever that is. So does anybody feel like that might possibly be helpful for them? This is an interactive call. Feel free to come off of mute. It's okay. Trying to make
Hey,
sure.
Selena, it's Mario. I love it.
Hi, Mario. Oh, I finally get to see
Morning.
you.
Yeah, I love it. Being a new agent, obviously, this just totally makes sense. You had me at that commission portion, the revenue part. Yeah, I was smiling.
Well, most of us are motivated by just one of a few things, right? And sometimes being like, a lot of people don't go that extra step to think about what is the value of that lead, right? And for me, I think it's just important sometimes when we're really having a down day to really think about it from that perspective, right? It's just like, oh, okay, it's a tough day, but if I just make this call, this is what this could lead to. Obviously some of us are also motivated by the fact, hey, this person told me they really need to buy a house and they're really struggling. That could be it as well. You could also put that in your notes about whatever their reason was. So that's another way. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to share with you, for those of you that are visually stimulated, there is another way that is called, let me see why that's popping up. This is called Trello. And now this is what I have been using recently. I'm going to enjoy being able to integrate this into what I'm currently building. Thank you, Will and Moses. But currently, this is free. I used the free version of Trello. This is a sample ABC lead board. Okay. So I actually coach a lot of coaching clients that utilize this because they're very visual based. And they also like that you can open this on your phone or your iPad and it's open anywhere. Rick Chiha loved this board. He's very visual and he loved the fact that he could just see it and move the cards wherever he wanted to. And he could just open it on his phone. So it worked really well for him. Usually people who are high eyes on the disc assessment profile, this is something that they like gravitate towards. Same concept. This one is built this way. I prefer to build it backwards because this is called a Kanban board, by the way. It's a Japanese way of organizing. And the idea is typically that you move everything from the left side of the board to the right side of the board to its level of completion, which is why I usually build it the opposite direction. If you were to see my RGT pipeline, it's built that way. It's gone from listing a lead to listing appointment to coming soon to active in the MLS to pending to closed, right? You're moving everything from the left side of the board to the right side of the board. So that's the way my brain works in a Trello board, which would mean you would start from D leads to C leads to B leads to A leads to pending, and move it over the other way. So it's up to you on how you want to build it, however your brain works. So the way that this works, guys, is you can create these columns in any way, in any name that you want in Trello. And then these are cards. So that's all you're doing is creating a card for the name and you're moving it to wherever they are. The idea being that you want to move a C lead to a B lead to an A lead. Now inside the card, there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot of automation you can build inside of this. You can put notes. You can actually build an entire checklist in here. If there was something where you said you wanted to, mark that you called them, mark that you sent them a thank you card, whatever that is, you can put in due dates that say, when is the next time you're going to call them back? You can see I changed the cover. I changed this one to green. So there's a lot that you can do to automate when you're supposed to follow up, what this looks like. We like to look like, I'll give you an example, guys. Like here's my agent attraction board. So you can see there's a lot in here. We move people around all the time. It's my fire list. But you can see there's like, oh, here we go. Hang on. There's a lot of, well, that did not work. One second. Got a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of people in here. Why is it fighting me today? There's a lot in here, like a lot, right? But we're trying to keep track of as many people as possible, with the idea being that you're moving them to wherever you need to move them to. C recruits, B recruits. I love it because we call them C plus, B plus, A plus, depending on what it was. But the idea behind it is that you're keeping track of all of this somewhere. Sometimes it can be a little difficult inside of a CRM to feel like you have it in a flow that your eyes can follow, right? Not everybody sees or learns in the same way. So what I want you to do is when you're thinking about a system, it's never a one size fits all. Just not everybody sees it or feels it the same way. So that's why I wanted to show you a couple of different formats today around lead follow-up, right? When he said today, he was like, oh, you've got 6 months. And I was like, how many times do we put a C lead in there and then it's just gone? Because we thought it wasn't worthy of our time. And 6 months has come and gone, and that C lead has stayed in there, and we never actively tried to move it to a B. And that's because it gets pushed so far down in our CRM. It really does. Because what's happened is that C lead came in and told you, I'm not quite ready. I'm just browsing. And in the meantime, you have more A's and B's coming in, and the C lead keeps getting pushed. Now, they didn't tell you they would never buy. They just said not right now. But you've now forgotten them because they're getting pushed. Okay, they're not worth any less. They don't mean any less to us. They still said yes. They just said not yet. Okay, because you didn't have any way of putting them back in front of your eyeballs. Okay, so you have to create some sort of system that's going to make you look at it more often and treat them the same way. Right? Anybody feel like they let those things go pretty regularly? Oh, you're a quiet bunch today.
So I want to ask.
Mhm.
It does get, it's like Texas. Texas come in and I haven't responded to someone and they kept getting pushed down. Pretty soon I forgot about them. How are you keeping B's or C's in your focus? How are you doing that with this
So it's
software?
same concept of like when you are setting and you know that that's that week, right? Like obviously if they're responding and they're texting you, that is a two-way communication and that is really important. You can't let that go, right? The second they start communicating with you, you're on it. Now, if you haven't been in communication with them, when you know it's a B lead week, like that's during your lead generation time that you have on your calendar, that's who you're calling. And what I love about saying that that's a B lead week is I know that I'm having the same conversation during lead generation, right? If my lead generation time is from 9 to 11, then I know I'm calling all my B leads and we're having the same conversation. You're 30 to 90 days out. Hey, just want to see where things are. Are you ready to start going to look at houses? Where, it's the same conversation so that way you know that that's who you're calling during those 2 weeks, right? Same conversation. And when it's a C lead week, you're having the exact same conversation. Hey, it's just me checking in. I know I said no pressure, just wanted to see how things are going. When do you think that you'll be ready, if that's changed at all? Right? Same conversation the whole week. So your lead generation looks the same during the time frame, except unless it's a brand new lead coming in, right? I think that's
Selena, I
different.
love that you have a week
Yeah.
dedicated to, and I've never done that. And that will truly, that's gold for me today. Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha.
And that week, that's what I'm working on, B's. Another week, I'm working on C's.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You bet. Like I do encourage people to just take a calendar, open it up if you have an agenda book or whatever it is that you're using, and just write what week it is. Because and you'll get the flyer. I'll show you guys where to go for all of the stuff. But like if you write it on there, like Casey and I are starting this for agent attraction. We're starting next week whenever I get back. And we're doing the same concept in agent attraction. Is it a B lead week? Is it a C lead week? Is it an A? A is always, right? Because you have an appointment. So B, C, and in some instances we go D, and that's where like we feel like they're way more than 90 days out, but they're people that we want to reach out to. But we take this into the same exact space with agent attraction leads. We're like, all right, what week is it? Here's who we're calling, because that way you don't miss your follow-ups, right? If you tell them you're going to call them regularly, whether it be leads for production or leads for agent attraction, you're not going to mess them. You're going to be like, okay, I know no matter what, I'm calling them twice a month, right? And then layer that one more time on the 22nd that week, you're calling your top 50 in your SOI. Okay. Now remember, your top 50 is every month. Your SOI is once a quarter. Okay, so you have to figure in on that 22nd, you're doing it by, we typically tell you to do it by their last name. Split it up so that you're like on that 22nd, you're making sure, because there's no way you're calling 250 to 300 people in one. You could do it in a week, but it's complicated because those are usually longer conversations. So you just have to systematize it. This is where the breakdown happens, guys. There's no system around who you're calling and when. You just got to like look at it from that perspective. Everybody good there? Such a quiet bunch today. Will, let's jump into what you wanted to talk about with follow-up.
No, you were just mentioning some of these follow-up campaigns you had that you guys were selling for thousands of dollars. I'm like, I want to see what that look like.
I know. I'm digging through and trying to figure out a way that I can put them into Go High Level now. So that's what I'm looking at. I've got a couple of different things. A lot of what I built was on the front end of listing management and transaction management. But I did have past client follow-ups as well. So once I do that, I'll be able to just send you snapshots on that.
That's all I was gonna say. Well, if you have it, just give it to me, and I'll have my VA do it, and I'll just send you the
The
snapshot.
snapshots. Yeah. I'm digging through. When I left the team in New York, I just basically put everything on a solid state drive. So like we're talking 7 years worth of data. So I'm like still pouring through it. So and then I immediately left and came here. So when I'll be working on it after I get home on Monday morning. But that'll be something that absolutely I have no problem sharing because it's stuff that we built, workflows about how to, one, we were always of the mindset to over communicate from the onset, right? We had something that was called our what to expect emails, and it was what to expect when listing, what to expect when buying, and then we had what to expect once you got into pending. And so they were automated, triggered emails so that we weren't overwhelming them with too much information. So they were set to go one a day for 8 days at the onset, right? And then that way it was that they were just getting like a nice flow of information about kind of what was coming next every day, right? And it was, and they loved it, right? Initially they were too wordy. And my husband, when we were selling our house, messaged Mark, who had created them, and he was like, I'm a high D, and like, this is so much information. Like, I just like, you feel like you're vomiting on me. So like we shrunk it down. And guys, this is something I'm going to give you some feedback on. Any communication that you write to your buyers, your sellers, past clients, if you are not writing it from a DISC perspective, DISC, you need to sit down and think about it. So that's what we did. We actually hired someone to kind of help us with that, because Mark, who I worked with, was he was a 99S, 99C. So everything he wrote was 42 pages long. It was like a novel when we sent it out. You have to write it from a DISC perspective. I'm going to give you an example. When you are writing for a D, sorry about all the applause happening in the background. When you're writing for a D, bullet points. Okay, at the very top of whatever you're writing, here are the basic synopsis points of, whatever it is that you're trying to give them. Nice and bullet pointed. From an I, the email better look good. If you have a way to put a header on it with your logo or something like that, it better look pretty, and it needs to be justified, and everything better be spelled right. Okay, because that's important to an I, that it visually be appealing. Okay, that's an I perspective. S, they want to feel taken care of. You have to write it in a way that whatever they're reading, they feel like you're going to handle everything for them. So write it from the perspective of, don't worry, we've got you. Okay, it has to convey that in the message. C is everything that was in bullet points. If you would like more information on all of this, please see below. Then there's more details. Okay, this is so important. You don't know who's getting your messaging. You don't know what kind of DISC assessment they are on the other side. This was so powerful for us when we changed the way we wrote what was going out to our clients, because they felt like we were speaking to each one of them. And they were like, oh, felt like you wrote that email just for me. We're like, oh, we kind of did, but really we wrote it for all of you. Yeah, so it's like all encompassing. It takes a little skill, but if you go back, chances are you're writing your email for you. Okay, you're writing it for you, how you like to read things or see things. And you need to consider that definitely when you are selling a house or you have a buyer, those spouses are probably two different DISCs. Okay. And oops, I hate the new things that happen on this. I know, doing all kinds of fun things lately on Zoom. But you should have seen the one I did yesterday. Everybody got I'll do it at the end. Everybody gets a real kick out of it. But if you start doing that, it takes your client communication to a totally different level. It's like concierge level service just through communication. Sherry, I got your message. I'll take care of that. So I want you to start thinking through that when you're building templated emails or you're building workflows that send out client communication. Even if your admin is sending something out regularly to talk to someone about when their inspection is scheduled, I'm not kidding, guys. Every little email that's templated like that, think about writing it from the DISC perspective. Like, people get nervous even about inspection. So if you're writing it and there's somebody who is a high S, you would want to write it in the way that, of course, it's like, here's all the information, here's when it's scheduled. Don't worry, everything's going to be fine. If there are any issues, they're going to call. Like, you're giving it to them. And if you don't know a lot about the DISC assessment, guys, Google it. Okay, there's a lot of information out there that tells you about each style and tells you how they best like to be communicated with. Okay, so that's important. It's really important.
And somebody, I think that was good. Somebody asked if Chat GPT could write it, based on DISC, and I
Oh,
imagine
I haven't tried that.
Yeah, and I imagine it could. So my question is there a percentage of percentiles for how many people fall into which category?
I do think they do have some reporting out there for it. Yes. I do think there is. I have not looked at it in a long time. Actually, there's some people here who might know. So I could ask, because there's lots of us that are trained on it here. But there's two people here. I'm not going to put two fingers up again. So that's how I get the balloons. You have to have it turned on your thing. There's lots of different things that make stuff happen like this one. Let's see if it does it. It's got to register that I'm doing it. There it goes. You have to have it turned on your features. But anyway, I'm on Zoom. Everybody's like, what is she doing in the middle of coach training? It's very interesting to see. And there are definitely certain DISC assessments that will show you kind of certain professions and things like that. We have certain DISC assessments that we prefer to hire for real estate and admins and things like that. And I'm happy to like teach a class. So actually, we've been talking, Rick and I were planning to teach a class on it at one point, just because there's a lot of really good, valuable information in there. I love to teach it from the perspective of how do you connect and build rapport with your clients instantly. Like that is what I like to do it with, because you have seconds to build rapport. And then when you are sitting down doing a listing presentation or a buyer presentation, it's really, really important when you start speaking to the person up opposite you with that same, with a, like from their DISC perspective. So I would love to still teach a class on that. But I think if you could start thinking about whatever your client communicate, and guys, this is even from a newsletter perspective. I'm not kidding. Even from a newsletter perspective.
I just Googled Will's question.
Did you? What did it say?
Everything DISC assessments are norm. Oh, wait, sorry. So roughly 25% of the population falls into each quadrant, while there are 4 distinct styles. And because people can be a blend of styles.
Yep.
It actually encompasses 12 unique overall styles.
Yeah.
So I find that very interesting that the world is split up evenly.
Almost evenly.
Quadrant. Yeah. Like,
well, on average, most people have 2 over the line is how it works, right? So you have 2 bars that are over 50%. I have 3. So some people have over 3. Some people are like 1, and that usually is like almost always a D. We like to use the word delightful and not driver instead of the other D word that sometimes get used for that. So it can vary, but most people have 2 over the line. Some do have 3. Anytime anybody has 4 over the line when they take the DISC assessment with me, I make them take it over. I do. It's almost always wrong. It means that they tried to game the system and answer it in the way that they feel like they should be answering it, or they had a really awful day or something like really bad. Like I had a young lady take it from me once before, and she wrecked her car just before she took it, and she was like super stressed. And when she retook it, it was fine. It was, days later. So it can be manipulated. Discs also do change. Okay, they can change based on who you work with or for. It can change based on your life. As I mentioned, I worked with Mark Boyland. He's a very high SC. While I worked with him for all those years, my C went way, way up in relation to my working with him. His expectations were that everything be so analyzed, right? So my C went up out of need, right? And out of working with somebody like that for a long time. So it can change, but the point is that when you can begin speaking to people in the way that they like to be spoken to, and when you can write your communication with people in a way that everyone feels heard or everyone feels spoken to, you really change the way your communication is, right? Like to really start thinking in that perspective from newsletters and things that just go out to your clients regularly, and especially those kinds of things like, here's where we are in your transaction, here's where we are in your listing, and here's like follow-up, just even past client follow-up, right? Like after the fact, I'm following up with them regularly. I'm not a high I joke all the time. I'm like, I have like a -12 I. So it doesn't matter to me if it's pretty. Like, so I have to like make myself like think about that when I'm writing something. I'm like, okay, how do I make this look like floofy? It's got to be like somehow, because I am more of function versus form. And there's a second level in the DISC motivate and DISC assessments now. It's called motivators, and very few people are trained on that. And that, so when I see, like when my I is so low, my motivators is in alignment with that, because there's one called aesthetic, and in the aesthetic, my aesthetic shows that I am more about function, not form. But somebody who's a high I, it's almost form versus function, right? They're like, I'd like it to be very pretty and artistic and beautiful, and mine is like, meh. Like, does it work?
I'm a high IC, so I like the visual of it, but I also like the functionality and the structure of it.
Got it. Got it. So what I would encourage you guys to do, one is systematize everything, right? As far as your lead follow-up. And then, you know, taking from that, I would like you to start thinking about any communication that you have, even with leads, guys, as like, am I speaking to the masses in a way that all of the people could hear me and feel comforted or enthusiastic about what it is I'm saying, right? It's really, this is something that is a skill that takes time to learn. All right. And here's some practice for you. So if you haven't yet taken a DISC, let me know. Feel free to email me separately, and I have the ability to DISC anyone who's not currently DISCed. Sherry, I got your message, so I'll take care of that. When you get the report, it's like 70 pages long. There's a lot of information that teaches you about it. I want you to learn as much as possible about it. And then I want you to then take that and go out and meet your friends or your family, try to determine what kind of DISC assessment they are, right? And then try to speak with them in a way in which they like to communicate. Okay, practice. This is important because when you go on a buyer appointment or a listing appointment, you build rapport when you are speaking to someone in the way in which they can hear. So yeah, I'm coming. They're like, come eat lunch, Selena. This is actually a really good activity for you to learn and for you to start practicing. So I'll give you an example. I am a low I. I am currently surrounded by 100 high D's and high I's at coach training. So I have to turn my eye on, right? It's like I start talking with my and I'm fucking everybody and everybody's loud. And so, but that is how they communicate and how they engage. So while I am here, bye Mo. So while I'm here, I am talking in a way in which they best communicate, right? Because that is comfortable for them, right? And it means that we're building rapport. It's not my natural state. It's entirely possible to do, though. Every single one of us has always operated in all four of those quadrants at any one given time. When you operate outside of your natural quadrant, it does deplete you. Okay. I'm exhausted at the end of these days. So I then have to like go sleep and like come back and do it again tomorrow. But what happens though is you are able to speak in their language, right? And they feel comfortable with you as a result. So now, then the next level, like if you want to go up a level in practice, you sit across from a couple who are two different DISC assessments. And then you have to change from the spouses, this DISC to this DISC while sitting in front of them. Okay, that's like level 2 of learning to communicate with people, and without it being overt. Like it can't be like super noticeable, but you have to be able to transition from having the communication from one to the next. So these are just kinds of practice that you can do. And then I want you to start thinking about how you do that in your follow-up with clients, right? And building that into your workflows, building that into your follow-up, and how that can like, you guys, it'll start changing your business. People will feel just like heard and taken care of, and like, wow, like I just feel like this person knows me. And in reality, you're just speaking to all of them at the same time. So, okay, I'm going to share with you where you guys can find the resources for whenever we have all of this fun stuff I share with you guys. And then I've got to go apparently eat. See here. Okay, so when you go to empirebuilders.pro and you go to our resources tab up here, guys, and you get to this page, which is where we have our, training schedule. And thank you, Sherry, for catching one of the Zoom links that we had wrong. But if you scroll down here to additional resources, you can go to access our online and downloadable resources. It's immediately going to open up. I just want to make sure it's sharing my next screen. Let's see if it does it. Can't tell if it is or it isn't. So I'm going to just reshare 1 second. Can you see my Google Drive? Okay, good. Okay, so these are all the resources we've shared from different calls that we've done. So you feel free to dig around in anything. These particular resources are in today's call, Systems with Selena's call. When you click on that, I have the ABC of lead management schedule. There is a copy in here of scripts that you can use if you're calling your A's, B's, and C's. I did include that today. So it's just sample scripts that you want to use. And then that lead tracker is in here. Like if you want to use the spreadsheet, guys, feel free to take that. What you have to do though is hit file and make a copy. The one that's in here is not editable. You just have to hit file, make a copy, and then save it as your own, and it'll allow you to use it as much as you want. If you decide you want to use the Trello board, just sign up for the free version of Trello. I do not pay for the paid version. Just sign up for the free version of Trello and utilize that one. Okay. But feel free to, if there's there's a lot of resources in each one of these things. So feel free to poke around in there if you're looking for other things that we've shared in the past for those of you that are new to the call. I try to share anything that we've ever popped out there before. Make sure you have access to it. Will, you and I will probably talk in about a week. I guess I'm throwing everything in there. And I'm still building. I'm just getting in there, and we're focusing on the agent attraction side first, just so you know. Let's see. Oh, Anthony, the link for that, it's just, do you not have access to Empire Builders Pro where I just showed? It's just an open site. You don't have to have access to it. Yeah, just go to empirebuilders.pro and then go to resources. That's our site. Everything's on there. I don't hide anything. Everything's out there for everybody. empirebuilders.pro, go to resources, and then just scroll all the way to that little section that says additional resources and click on the little document library. Everything's in there. And I add stuff in there all the time, guys. So keep that link saved. Anytime I can find something that I think you guys might want, I just keep dumping it in. I like to make sure you guys have whatever you need. All right, guys, I have to boogie. I'm sorry you guys were so quiet today. I have a lot of low eyes.
I'm printing door hangers and attaching them, so I have a lot of.
I did see you doing that. I did see you doing door hangers. I love it. All right, guys, thanks for joining today. I hope that you guys develop a system so that you guys could really when he said 6 months today, I was like, ooh, okay, that's it, man. Those C leads, you got to get them closed within the 6 months or they're gone forever. So don't let them go. Put a system in place, put it on your calendar. It's a B week, it's a C week, and just don't let them go. After that, they're going to somebody else. You just lost that money. Put the price of the lead, put the price of the lead and be like, that's $12,000. I just let it walk out the door. All right, guys, bye. Talk to you soon.
You.
Bye, Debbie.